if you've ever considered free machine embroidery and looked into it, taken advice, you might have been given information about how you must be able to lower your feed dogs, or sometimes people tell you can replace it with a darning plate. You must have the right foot. I learnt to free machine when I was 14, 15 years old in a textiles course at school. Now, textiles was a bit different back then. It was a very long time ago in the early 80s. Textiles back then was all about surface design. We learned how to print. We learned how to design the things to put on. I've still got a sketchbook full of the designs I did. I cannot find any of the embroideries. One day I may, luckily. But this, we had very basic machines. Even then, schools didn't have big and fancy. We had the very basic machines. They didn't drop feed dogs. There was nothing you could do about it. We didn't even have fancy feet. I literally learnt to free machine like this for my O-levels, which is, for those who don't remember, the equivalent of GCSEs these days. So, machine is all threaded up. Let's turn it on. So, all this stuff about free machining, there is only really one rule about free machining. Keep your fingers out of the way of that needle. This is how I learnt, just the fabric, no foot, no needle. That's still how I tend to work, but I will show you some of the others. You must have the foot down, otherwise the tension isn't engaged, and that's the hardest thing to remember when using a foot, because you don't see it. Right. If I sew just on this fabric, this is why I don't like doing this now. You have to concentrate on keeping it flat. It must be kept stretched and flat. If it is not, it will bounce up and down, it will scrunch, you will not get a good finish. The ways around that are to use another piece here, a stabiliser on the back. This is partly why it was easier for me at school, because when I was doing it at school, I was doing it onto things that would be displayed rather than things. So I was using very thick canvasy fabrics, not thin sheeting like this. So, you go. Right, now let me show you how it works on this. I've got the end just to stop it going back up. It is in. Put the needle down manually to get started. Do a couple of... Can you see the fabric is trying to pull up? Do a couple in place. And then you just start to move. You will get your time in. You will learn how to judge how fast to move the fabric compared to how fast you're putting your foot down. Can you see if I let go of the fabric and then we start to get meshes underneath and oh no, it's lost it. Can you pick it back up? No. You see, from where I did that bit, it lost the bobbin thread. Right? You must keep that fabric stretched. Let me do that. Let me find the bobbin thread. Let me bring the bobbin thread back up. I ran out of bobbin thread. Okay, that wasn't my fault. That wasn't my silly sewing, that was your bobbin thread running out. Sorry. Lesson number 1. Always check how much bobbin thread you have in. Okay? But what you should have noticed from all of that is that my feed dogs were still there. They still are. Can you see? Can you see them if I turn the handle? Can you see that they're still moving? They've gone down. They're coming up. Right? I have not disengaged the feed dogs. And it still works. You can use one of these, a plate. I can't stand them. I can't stand them because where is my piece of fabric with the thing on? There it is. When I have one of these on, it can easily get knocked. It moves. It also, it doesn't, to me, it makes no advantage. If I'm doing lots of intense work in a very concentrated area, it might, I don't think it gives me any advantage, but it doesn't move. But I tend to be working over large areas, and I find it, look, see how easy it shifts. It's just there and I've just knocked it with my finger and it's, now I've got it locking. And it's out. I don't like using them. Also, if you are using a foot, an embroidery foot, I'll show you this one in a minute. If you are using an embroidery foot, that screws on there, comes down there. Can you see that little tiny gap? Doesn't look when I put the light on, does it? that little tiny gap is filled. So if you're using an embroidery foot and a cover plate, a darning plate, you can't move the fabric around. I'll show you that effect in a minute. Let me just go back to this, and now we've got the bobbin thread back in. Woolly that I am. Turn it back on. Right, and again. Get started. Now, see, I would normally have a design worked out first. Oh, I made a wobbly there. There you go. There you go. There. It's upside down, is it? Yes. There we go. Oh, just so much. The other way I like to work, but again, not so good for small bits, but this is easier for finer fabrics. You watch me struggle to get this in now without taking the needle out. It's in a hoop. It's in a hoop. It's stretched out. You need the single layer of fabric. But getting it under the... Oh, it went under first time there. So right, we're in. And again, foot is down. Get the first couple started. But this one is easier because of your fingers. You see how I can move the fabric without risking my fingers going. Thread. That's because I pulled too hard. Right, let's pull that one out. Before we point out that I'm doing this with the foot on, my foot is well away from my foot pedal. I've been doing this for long enough to know that. I'm not going to keep switching it off, but I do make sure my foot's well away from the pedal. There you go. So, nice little squiggly flowery effect, but it's whatever you want. So, cut that one. Thread. Let's put up. Yeah, it's up. Down. This machine does not have a threader, so it can be a pain. You can go through it. Every time so far today I've rethreaded this needle, it's gone in first time. Now I've got the camera on. It's not going to, is it? Come on, in you go. Oh, it keeps popping to the side. It's not going through. Right. See, when I was learning to do this at 15, I could already dress make. And I knew all about the right needles and things. But when we did this at school, we were using any old needles that we could get hold of. Whatever we could get. That was school. Right. So now I'm going to show you what the difference is. Now, interesting, because I bought 2 feet out today. Look, they're different. I can't use this one on this machine. Can you see the... Yeah, see that one's for a different shank, for a different machine, is it in? Can you see it? Yeah. This is the only one that fits on this machine. Where is the screw? There's the screw. Come on. Right. Now, in theory, with these feet, what happens is that the needle shaft, this bit, this needle screw, hold on, I don't know if this is the right screw. doesn't seem to be fitting in this hole. Is it going in? Yes, it's in. I'll just do it there. Once you have this foot on, this is the theory. This bit here, it goes up and down. I'm going to turn the light off again so that you can see. This bit moves up and down because there's a little lever there that goes up and down with the needle. However, I don't know if you can see it on here. If you see this needle shaft, never actually comes up high enough to hit it. So not all machines work right with these. I'm going to go back to my... No, I'll use this bit. Because on this one, because we have a foot on, we shouldn't... It's now down. But when I put the foot down, it's down tight and it feels quite tight. If I'm doing this on another machine that is more designed for this and has this, there is a little gap. There is more of a gap. Definitely see the gap. Can you hear? You can actually feel that. That's the feed dogs. That's where being able to put the feed dogs down is helpful. But you don't have that. Right, let's just try it, see what you mean. See what I mean. Right? But as you can see, I can still freely move that fabric. Those feed dogs are not stopping. You do exactly what I want to do. The foot is not working as it should properly. It's holding the fabric down for me, so I don't need to worry so much about putting it taut like I did with no foot at all. So, to a large extent, whether you use the foot or do it without is personal choice. I am used to doing it without the foot. I do actually have another foot here, but I don't know if I've got it out. Here it is. This is a brilliant little foot for embroidery. Now, I was going to show you before I do this. Look, if I put that darning plate on, you see foot down, that is going all the way down. It's just a tiny gap, you can't really see it. But if I put, what's the wrong way around? If I put the darning plate on to cover the feed dogs, then I put my sheet of fabric in and put my foot down. Now, what's this? Now I struggle to move my fabric because I can do it, but it's more of a struggle because the gap has been filled by that darning plate. So let's do this one. Get this one off. Well, this one's to come all the way off for this one. This one is a clear foot. It's a completely look. What's this together? A round, completely clear. But it's brilliant for applique, for anything where you want to see what you're doing. But this is good for free machining because as long as you can get enough of a gap, again, it does go right down. Alright. It isn't quite on the bottom, so there is a gap, see, between the fabric. Oh, what have I done? That's me. I've cut the threads. That's me. I've looped threads. So I'm going to put a piece of stabilised fabric in there just to, because I work better with it. Right? Now you see this little foot. I can move my fabric. Actually, I put this on to show you how you don't need to stress so much about holding the fabric, didn't I? So I will put a piece of non-stabilised fabric in. Let's put non-stabilised. You still need to guide it because it is thin. But can you see on that foot, because of the surface size of that foot, it is holding my fabric in place. Move it completely. The key part here being that I am moving this fabric around even though the feed dogs are up. Right? I'm just not doing anything. They're there, but they're up. A couple of things you might need to consider when the feed dogs are up is there is a possibility. I think it's happened to me once I can remember, that a bit of thread gets caught on them or something and pulls. But as long as you're paying attention to what you're doing, it's not a problem. So don't worry. If you cannot drop the feed dogs on your machine, it does not mean you cannot free machine. You still can. If you are a learner, now yes, okay, I learned at 15 with no food in school. It's probably not advisable. School probably wouldn't be allowed to do it these days, would they? Would have keeping safety. In fact, if I found out that my kids were doing it at 15, I'd have probably gone down to that school and said, where's the safety guards? But I did it. No doubt thousands of others did. So this, you absolutely can. Free machine embroider with your feed dogs up. It's not very stylish, but you know, it's stitched.